I'm focused on his spirit cause it keeps me from his fire. The Holy Ghost is with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when he took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. The devil is a lie.
Hello, welcome back to News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about this article that I read from the Washington Post, and there's more than one that's just pretty dishonest about what happened in Minneapolis the other day when there was a fatal shooting by an ICE agent after a woman was blocking the road or participating in blocking the road and stuff. But the important part is that she there was an ICE agent in front of her. She accelerated her car toward him, and whether she was trying to just leave or trying to run into him, I'm not of the opinion, and it is just an opinion. I don't know her intent, and you don't either. Um, I to me, I don't think that she's probably trying to mow him down or kill him with her car. She could, and again speculation. I can't know that, but the even if she was just trying to get away, she clearly didn't make enough space to not hit him. And he's been hit before, and she's still moving toward him. The car is a deadly weapon, especially at that point. And people are saying that he didn't shoot from the front. People are saying that she didn't hit him. And even news organizations are saying that she didn't hit him. Or she, and it's just not the case. And I'm not talking about they're saying stuff when it first happened. There's articles that were posted late last night that are still spreading misinformation. So I don't have a lot of time to go over this stuff with you guys today because I do have an obligation, and it's a family obligation. My sister asked something of me, so I can't go over on my time, and I plan to cut short. I just really want to talk about this particular story and some misinformation, and I hope that's okay with you guys. And we went over yesterday, and I'm sure we'll have more time obviously tomorrow. But this story, I think it's tragic. I'm really baffled by it. As I mentioned yesterday, and then I did a short that I posted on social media. I didn't post it on TikTok because I don't know how TikTok is going to do with these videos of the shooting and stuff, and I didn't want to bother getting any kind of violations and stuff, but people know what's going on. I don't understand going out there to bother these ICE agents and obstruct what they're doing while you got kids. She has 3 kids. One of them is 6. And now that doesn't have a father, doesn't have a mother, because playing stupid game and you win stupid prizes. But it's just wild that when these things happen, to me, it seems like the community should come together and say, this is really tragic. We shouldn't do dumb things. Not just to like absolve the police officers or whatever, because sometimes they don't make the right kind of decisions, right? But in this particular circumstance, we have to stop encouraging this vigilante justice, or they in their mind it's justice or whatever, of these people who want to go and track down ICE and obstruct them. In some cases, actually commit physical violence against them, hit them with cars, throw things at them. Some people have actually tried to murder them. It needs to stop, and as we as a society just need to be like, oh, people should get their day in court. A lot of people have already had their day in court, and the ICE and Trump are just kind of following deportation orders of people who already had final deportation orders, whether it was in the first administration or Biden's administration or whatever. And you may not like that they're going home, but they don't belong here. but you do belong home with your children. Not everybody is a parent or whatever. Some of these people are young college kids or whatever, but it's a lot of these people who are coming out to these protests seem to be like older white folks, particularly white women. I did see some. There was a protest that was going on the other night, and there was a crowd of white women. They thought older white women, and I guess they thought the group was originally associated with the No Kings protest, and so they ended up leaving because they didn't know what group were out protesting the other night. So, w- I, I just don't have that. I don't know, kind of time on my hands to just be like, oh, let's go protest, all this stuff. Let's go protest for Maduro. Just crazy stuff I can't even fathom that the left is doing all the time. I just really deeply feel like go live a real life. This isn't worth you dying over. It's so crazy to me. Someone's gonna have to really break it down to me. Someone's gonna have to really explain to me. I don't get it. I don't get it. Um, and then our politicians and media people are just inflaming this insanity instead of like having a moment. So let me go through this article before I quickly run out of time. Um, so it's from the Washington Post. And there's an article. It says, "Woman killed by ICE in Minneapolis was a mother of 3 and a poet." So it's a piece about the woman who was killed, and there is a section um that says, "However, in the video footage of the killing does not show an officer being run over by a vehicle, but instead shooting toward the driver's side window as a driver reverses and pulls away." Now we know that's not true. It happened in the morning, um, yesterday, and people were talking about it all day. We didn't talk about it till 4 o'clock, and we had video of an angle where you can see the ICE agent being hit by the car. We watched a slowed down version, and I could play it again. I posted it last night online on social media. A slowed down video of an ICE agent in front of the car, and he doesn't start pulling out his weapon until she starts accelerating toward him. Now, I'm not making the claim that she was like, "I'm gonna kill him with my car." She could have just really been panicking trying to get out of there. I don't know. I don't know what was in her heart and what was in her head. I know that if I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to hit him, I wouldn't have gone forward at that angle. Um, I know I wouldn't have been there, though. I just, I don't know. I don't play games with cops, bro. That should be, there should always be a lesson with these things. You don't play games with law enforcement. There's just a disproportionate power and authority that they have that you don't. So you got to comply to get out of it, until you get into a safe situation. And instead of everybody, it's a terrible situation what happened, but we should not be encouraging stupidity. It drives me up a wall. It drives me up a wall. And I have this conversation when things happen when black people are shot and engaged in all kinds of different situations. When there was the Carmelo kid who stabbed Austin Metcalf, and people try to say, "No, you don't do that. You can't just tell black people to move," and we're trying to justify it and saying a bunch of ignorant stuff. I'm like, you are encouraging more black people to die. Why are you doing this? He was clearly in the wrong. But on top of it being in the wrong, you are just encouraging super hyper aggressive attitudes to escalate situations that will just end in more lives being ruined, not just people being killed, but also having to go to jail for these crimes. Why are you encouraging this? Why the rebellion? Why the rage and the violence? Why is no one advocating that we need to come have some kind of come to Jesus moment and dedicate ourselves to some kind of social cohesion? It drives me up a wall. But let me just go through this article real quick. So this is what the Washington Post. What are you doing, Jeff Bezos? So this was posted. It says today at 1:36 a.m. Eastern Time. Thousands of people in Minneapolis gathered for a candlelight vigil Wednesday evening to mourn in protest the killing of Renee Nicole Good, who was shot and killed in the city by an ICE officer hours earlier as she appeared to try to drive away in her vehicle during a raid. Good, 37, was a poet, a mother of three, and a movie lover, according to online records and family members. She studied creative writing at Old Dominion University in Norfolk and won Academy of American Poets Prize for undergraduate students in 2020. She had a good life, but a hard life. Her father, Tim Ganger, told the Washington Post on Wednesday evening. She was a wonderful person. Good had a 15-year-old daughter, two sons, ages 12 and 6. Her ex-husband told the Post. She was a U.S. citizen, according to a post on social media by Senator Tina Smith, a Democrat from Minnesota, but federal authorities did not identify her by name or confirm her citizenship. Smith condemned the killing. They mentioned that as if that was relevant to what was going on. She, according to eyewitnesses, was one of the cars that was harassing and trying to obstruct from ICE doing their job. So they wanted her. People were like, "Oh, she was trying to signal to the news." Well, they wanted her to get out because I guess she was from the obstruction that she was doing or whatever. And at that point, that it really, what does it matter at that point that she was a U.S. citizen? They weren't there to detain her as far as like they had orders to kick her out of the country or something like that. They were at odds because of her actions as an individual, not really her citizenship status. And then by the way, there's people complaining about the fact that like, well, she didn't comply to these masked people. She was there and other people were there to obstruct ICE. They knew their ICE. There was a confusion about their identity, so that's a cop out. You cannot like that they wear masks to so they won't be doxxed and their family won't be harassed, which we know that they will. Or assume that they will. I guess we can say assume. But they knew that they were ICE. Smith condemned the killing Wednesday and called for U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement to leave Minnesota immediately. Good did not appear to be the target of the ICE raid. So I just said that. Of course, she wasn't the target of the. Good graduated from ODU with a degree in English in December 2020. The university's president, Brian O'Himmel, told the Post in a statement, "This is yet another clear example that fear and violence have sadly become commonplace in our nation," he said, adding, "May Renee's life be a reminder of what unites us: freedom, love, and peace." Good was originally from Colorado Springs and once co-hosted a podcast with her husband at the time, comedian Tim Macklin, according to a short biography published about her on social media. Malkin died in 2023, and the two share a 6-year-old son. The Minnesota Star Tribune reported, citing an interview with the child's paternal grandfather on an Instagram account appearing to belong to Good. She described herself as a poet and writer and wife and mom and bleep guitar strummer from Colorado who is experiencing Minneapolis. The biography from the Poetry Prize similarly characterized her as an avid writer and devoted mother. When she is not writing, reading, or talking about writing, she has movie marathons and makes messy art with her daughter and two sons. It reads, Good was living with her partner in Twin Cities area at the time of her death, the Star Tribune reported, citing her mother, Donna Ganger. The shooting Wednesday and the narrative the Trump administration has put forth about have embroiled large swaths of Minneapolis, if not much of the nation. President Donald Trump said that Good was killed by an ICE officer in Minneapolis because she violently and willfully and viciously ran over the agent who Trump said appeared to shoot her in self-defense. Homeland Security Homeland Security Secretary Kristi L. Noem made a similar claim, claiming that the incident was preventable. It was absolutely preventable, obviously, and without providing evidence characterizing it as an act of domestic terrorism. I talked yesterday how I didn't love that particular type of language, but they are there isn't. I don't know how deep she particularly was with the. We see people obstructing and attacking and harassing ICE around the country. The people say they'll blow these whistles to signify that ICE is in the area, and people will go and or harass and try to obstruct them and stuff. And there was a witness on the ground that said that she was one of the main cars that was like doing that kind of stuff. So they are openly obstructing to federal agents doing their job, and she did hit him with a car. That I know this article is going to kind of deny that, but I still, especially like at the time, kind of so quick, just I wouldn't use that language. That's the language that the Trump administration decided to go with. I don't know that it's necessarily wrong to exactly call that though. However, a video footage of killing shows an officer not being run over by a vehicle, but instead shooting toward the driver's side window as the driver reverses and pulls away. That's what it says. That's what this Washington Post article says that was posted at 1 a.m. That the video footage of the killing shows an officer not being run over by a vehicle, but instead shooting toward the driver's side window as a driver reverses and pulls away. Smith called for a full and unbiased investigation. It's disgusting when President Trump and Secretary Noem recklessly spin us with a story that this woman was dangerous and a domestic terrorist, apparently excusing this violence with no investigation, she wrote on social media. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz blamed the Trump administration for the shooting, echoing local frustration over ramped up federal immigration enforcement efforts targeting Minneapolis. We have been warning for weeks that the Trump administration's dangerous operations are a threat to public safety, that someone was going to get hurt, he said in a news conference Wednesday afternoon. Just yesterday, I said exactly that. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey said the video of the incident shows an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying. This is a crazy report that's obviously wrong. I know most of it is about the woman who was killed. But she obviously did run over the ICE agent. And even if you didn't see, it's not forgivable for the Washington Post to have posted that, especially at that point of time. That's just egregious. It's egregious for the editors. It's disgusting. It's a lie. Okay? It's wrong for them to do that. But even if you didn't have the particular like different angle where it's like looking kind of from a tree angle, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll find a video and play it for you guys. Even if you didn't see that particular angle, we know that there's a bullet hole in the front. We know that there's a bullet hole in the windshield. So people with this perception that he just like in the front driver's door, if you saw the video one time and just decided that's what happened, then maybe that's your perception, but you're writing for a major newspaper. This isn't a blog. It wouldn't be right if it was a blog spreading misinformation either, but why is the media doing this? I find it very hard to believe that no one at Washington Post could have looked at that. And it's what they posted it at 1 a.m. Why are those words still there? They could have had a correction by now. not little good that it will do because people are screenshotting and talking about it. Where's the correction? Why do they want people to believe this? Is it so political? Is it so political? I'm reminded of NBC. Do you guys remember when NBC doctored a 911 call with George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin? And they like edited the video to make it seem like Zimmerman brought up that Trayvon Martin was black because I guess they wanted to make it seem like he was racist. Because at first people were trying to seem like Zimmerman was white, and then they're like, oh, well, he's a white Latino or something. But they wanted it to be about white on black, violence. And the video was the call was edited, but he said that he was black after the 911 person asked about it. So he ended up suing NBC, and it was a scandal for NBC, and they fired some people. But what's the purpose of this other than causing chaos and division and hate where there ought not to be? It's already a tragedy. It's already a tragedy. And there's already enough hostility toward the ICE agents. You had Jimmy Kimmel get on the air yesterday, and he crazy that said Donald Trump is going to kill you. That's not a joke. Like this is the crazy stuff they want people to believe. Do you think this will lead to less harm? It's crazy. It's crazy. But we a lot of information that came out yesterday by the time we have talked about it. But let me show you guys some of these videos again. So you could see him being moved by the car as it hits him. So maybe Washington Post didn't see that particular angle when they decided to write that. Again, it was 1 a.m. But they're obviously wrong. Obviously wrong. And then there was another article. This wasn't the one that I just read, but they talked about the shots. It said a frame by frame analysis of video footage, however, raises questions about those accounts. The SUV did not move toward the ICE agent as he stood in front of it, but the agent was able to move out of the way and fire at least 2 or 3 shots from the side of the vehicle as it veered past him, according to the analysis. What do you we've seen the video. We've seen the video. We've seen other angles of the video. We've seen the car. This isn't true. How? This is. You guys remember when there was a dress and the dress was gold or blue, and people. I always saw it as blue. I don't think I ever saw the gold dress. But there was a big argument about how people were perceiving. I don't know what color the dress actually was. And there's some kind of scientific reason why so many people are seeing the dress and saying so many different things. But it's pretty clear that he shot from the front because that's where the holes in the car are. And, and it's pretty clear that he was hit by the car. And maybe you might not have known that immediately. And here's again is a slowed down version. Moving toward him, he doesn't pull out his gun until it's coming toward him. And I can understand first viewing, maybe first couple viewings, you're confused and you think he's just shooting from the side. Cause um cause I that's just kind of what it looks like at first. But there's holes in the front of the car. So someone got to explain this to me. How that kind of misinformation gets passed along, especially after Bezos. I know he's not looking at stuff every day with a magnifying glass, but he wrote a big story about how the media isn't trusted and how that's a problem for their industry, especially because there's so many podcasters and bloggers and stuff that they have access to the people, they have their voice, they can spread stuff, and a lot of it will not be true. And so you have people who should be able to go to reliable sources to get unbiased sort of truth. And we understand that everybody's got a bias. People can be like honest about it, but still, like, facts are facts. How you perceive them is one thing. Like, we could have a debate on whether you think it was justified, but it's not a debate that he was hit. It's not a debate that there's a bullet hole in the windshield. That's not a debate. So if you can't even get the simple facts of the case right, the question is why? When you had plenty of time. So what is going on here? Are there just so many people who want folks to be inflamed about what's going on? Because to me that doesn't to me that doesn't show care. To me that doesn't show care. Like, when people would have conversations about Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, I would say your life has to matter to you. Your life has to matter to you. You have to care about yourself enough to come home to your family. You have to care enough about yourself to make good decisions that are going to get you home, to keep you alive. People have bad interactions with police officers all the time. You know, they could feel that they were treated really unfairly. You take the badge number, you show up in court. Sometimes they don't even show up, by the way, for like traffic tickets and other things like that. You may get off just because they don't show up. That's not gonna happen every time, but last time I had a ticket situation, my cop didn't even show up. So just FYI. But you don't, I don't know, put yourself in situations where the cop feels like their life is going to be in danger. Sometimes they just have bad judgment. But how much privilege do you have to think that if you can have your car accelerating toward a law enforcement officer and you just don't expect anything to happen to you? And she might have been panicked or whatever. So the question is really to the people who are just belligerent and even lying about what happened. Like, how much privilege do you have to think that you accelerating a car toward a law enforcement officer is just gonna have, like, no repercussions? I'm not saying he had to shoot her, but it's not unreasonable when you have a car coming towards you. You don't know if the goal is just to kill you, if the goal is to kill you, if it's to kill your partners, if they're gonna hurt other people in the crowd. There's a threat coming at you, and you have the option to act to neutralize it. And again, he didn't draw his gun until it was coming toward him. Someone said it, liberalism is a mental illness. I'm not gonna argue. Because I'm thinking about, you guys recall in 2020, the narrative of BLM, and we talked about this yesterday, was that they were trying to push that the police were hunting down Black people. And that wasn't a healthy thing to push in the minds of human beings, because, like, what if you need the police? Like, there was one video that was going around during that time of a little Black girl. She's When there's police cars coming through her neighborhood, she ran and she hid. And they're like, "Oh, it's so sad that these children, they know to hide from the police like this, and that the police are so evil and they're so corrupt and all this stuff." Um, what if that little girl needs the police one day, and she thinks that they're the monsters and the bad guys? And there could be monsters wearing badges. Don't get me wrong. You know, there's plenty of bad people who will abuse authority. I'm not trying to paint a picture like cops are always perfect or law enforcement's always perfect and always does the right thing. It's just not true. But the narrative that was being pushed, the fear that was being hyped up, it just wasn't an accurate a picture of reality. But anyway, that's what people were pushing, and that's what people were choosing to believe, and people were believing. There were actually literally people who believed that the police were killing thousands of Black people a year, hundreds of people. Of course, the unarmed, like, Black population being killed by police was like 14, 15, something like that, really, really low. And just because you're unarmed doesn't mean that you're not necessarily a threat, especially a perceived threat, depending on the situation. It just, you have to analyze it, like, situation by situation. But if that was the belief that was going around at the time, and it was for a lot of people, and that was the narrative BLM was spinning. At the debate, the final debate with Biden and Trump, there was a question about how Black people have to have the talk with their kids about how you interact with the police, or you could lose your life. And that was a debate question. And they're like, "Well, what do you say to these Americans, etc.?" And they didn't have, like, debates about foreign policy, things that, would really be like Trump's strong suit, especially against Biden. But they decided to have conversations about that. And that was, after the rise of BLM and stuff, and that's what they wanted to focus on. I thought that was obviously a strange kind of question. And I think all parents really need to have conversations with their children and have some kind of talk about how things can go south very quickly when dealing with police, because their jobs will be very dangerous. When they have a traffic stop, they don't know exactly what might be going on with that person, what kind of weapons they might have in their vehicle, if they're going to shoot them dead and keep driving. There's all sorts of things that are going on. They could be in high alert. I'm just not saying pop off at the moment. They have the right to kill you in any circumstance, but it's dangerous for them. And again, there's a power imbalance between them and you, and they have a weapon. You may have a weapon, you might not. You know, and it's fine if you have a weapon, an illegal weapon, but sometimes things can just go awry. So you have to have a healthy amount of respect for their authority, for the danger that you're in, that they're in, and just try to be calm as possible and get through the interaction alive and go home. That is not just a Black thing. You know, it's really a conversation a lot of people have. I see people all the time look at interactions with white people and police, and they're like, "Oh, must be nice to be white." There's plenty of interactions with police and white people that, you know, they don't make it, might not make it home either. I've seen some videos, just like you've seen videos of George Floyd. I've seen Tony Timpa and other folks too. So it's an issue that anybody can deal with when it comes to law enforcement. But there was this perception that was being pushed upon the population that Black people, they interact with the police and they're going to die, and the other folks don't apparently have that issue. That was the narrative. And so now we kind of see, I guess I'm bringing this up because there's this opposite end that I'm seeing to get back to the privilege thing, where people feel like they should be able to put the car in drive when there's an officer right in front. And they're like, how, oh my gosh, he murdered her. There's this huge disconnect. Is that privilege? Is that privilege? Is that privilege? It's a sad situation. It is a remarkably sad situation. Please stop encouraging nonsense, and the people to please stop encouraging people to act stupid, especially interfering with law enforcement while they're just trying to do their job. Please stop the nonsense. Stop the vigilante nonsense. Go home to your children, your young children, and raise them, hopefully to be better than you are. But just stop the nonsense and stop encouraging the nonsense. I don't want everyone to necessarily go on a berate this woman who was just killed situation, but we cannot encourage this to go on. And we cannot sit up and lie about what happened and just have people, you know, call them the Tim Walz or whoever, call them the Gestapo and threatening ICE or whatever, saying y'all gotta get out, and not have real conversations about what happened. Because when we don't have real conversations about what actually happens, we all have a skewed sense of reality. And our bias already skews stuff anyway. But when people are just lying about the facts that are on the ground, we're not in a good spot. We're not in a good spot. Anyway, someone asked, do you know Roland Fryer? That's the Harvard professor who did the study on police interactions, and when he got the results, he was confused by them, and so he fired everyone and redid the experiment. I was trying to remember his name yesterday. I actually mentioned him, but I couldn't remember his name. Yeah, when I mentioned yesterday that there was a Reuters data analyst that looked up information about BLM and the sort of propaganda that they're pushing, and some of the work that he referenced was Roland Fryer, who's a Black man, and Reuters flipped, the people within Reuters flipped out, and he ended up getting fired for just presenting data to other journalists. And they couldn't take it. They couldn't take it because they were so invested in their narrative, because it makes them feel righteous. But it doesn't help people if it's going to lead to more people being harmed and killed. It doesn't really help people. Maybe it makes you feel good. It doesn't help people get home. It doesn't help mothers get home to their 6-year-olds. It doesn't. It doesn't help that Black father get home to his kids. It doesn't. It doesn't. So that's my rant. I'm like out of time. I said I had to leave a little early because I had an obligation. So I'm gonna go ahead and start to close out. But I just saw that article from Washington Post, and I'm so annoyed by it, and And it's not the only one that they wrote with like bad false information. Um I I I wonder what the news media, because I don't sit up and watch CNN and stuff all day. So my perception is just kind of coming from what folks are saying online. I don't so yeah, I'll have to see what kind of crazy stuff they're saying. I see clips on the news networks, but it's crazy that they're printing this stuff, these lies, and just putting it out there for the world. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me briefly today. You guys can go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation on the site. It does cost a stream and run the site, all that stuff. So you guys can support. I very much do appreciate it, and appreciate you guys. You guys can also check out different merch like the "I'm Not the Victim You're Looking For" shirt. I got my money, my business shirt. I got black tea mug and all kinds of different stuff you guys can check out. And I do have a lots of different books you guys can check out. If you go to blacktnews.com, there's a link that'll take you to my on the merchandise page. There's a banner that'll take you to my book website. There's a link for my children's book, Bigger, that's in the comments, where you guys can check that out if you want to get like a physical signed copy as well. But I have lots of books. But anyway, God bless you guys. And I'll catch you tomorrow. We'll have a full show tomorrow, but I do gotta get going. But yeah, God bless you guys.